Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and I'm here, if you're watching the video one, in front of the Flatiron Building, the Daily Bugle from the Sam Raimi films. And this is going to be the new NYCFC home field for next year because they're going to play on the roof. It's really not going to fit the dimensions. But no, I was seriously thinking, I had no idea where they were playing this weekend because they were home and the Orioles were playing in the Bronx. So I was like, where are they playing? I guess it was Citi Field or another, maybe Connecticut or something. I didn't pay too much attention to that game. But I am here, and with me is somebody that is safe from Hurricane Ian. It is Logan Stumpf.
Yeah, I guess thoughts out to everyone that's been impacted by Hurricane Ian. I mean, it was devastating here in Florida. It was really bad here in Orlando. So just picturing what it would look like in places. My parents are in Southwest Florida, and actually the shop that they own was on Sanibel Island, which is down there where it made landfall. And they just assumed that the store that they bought out was just destroyed and all of it. And I think it's tough for anybody.
I guess they haven't been able to look yet.
Well, that's right? The thing. Yeah, it destroyed the causeway. So the building owner was told that it was 8 to 10 feet of flood water in buildings and stuff. So they just assumed that. I mean, at this point, it's gone along with everything else over there. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because while this stuff's going on, sports, the importance of sports isn't really there at times. When you're going through stuff like this. But luckily, too, it is kind of an escape for everybody that lives in this location, that lives in this area. I know a lot of people had friends and family in Fort Myers area because that's a pretty popular spot in Florida to live. So if you have any listeners that have family down there, I hope everybody's all right. I'm glad that we got some good soccer over the weekend, even though my team not so good. But it's important. These sports give you an escape, and I think that's what we love about it. It allows us to get away from reality and live in a world where things are just a lot of fun. So even if your team sucks.
Amazing that the Buccaneers and the Chiefs played in Tampa, actually. Like, they had a whole backup situation ready, and I turned on the game expecting it to be somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, wait, they're actually playing in Tampa, and it's like a full house. Like, it was kind of crazy how fast they were able to kind of flip the switch back into that, because Tampa is one of the impacted areas, right? Not as bad as, I guess, the beach area, but
they had storm surge. They had some flooding. And I know they had a lot of rain, kind of like us. So anything that was around the coast would have been impacted. But yeah, they were practicing with the Dolphins in the Dolphins facility. And I think the plan was if they were going to play, they were going to play in Miami. So it should be.
I think Minnesota was a spot.
Another one too. Yeah. Yeah. Because they were looking for away teams that didn't have teams sitting there because Minnesota was in London. So a lot of teams don't know where they play this week, Jordan. They're all playing in different cities.
Playing all over the place. Yeah, crazy.
I forgot before one of my kids mentioned that, like, he goes, yeah, what about the NFL game in Germany? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, Germany? I forgot they are playing in Germany this year. Like the NFL is. I was like, what? And then Mexico as well.
Before we get to this, did you ever play like the old Madden games where you could play with the Euro NFL teams?
No, I don't think so.
Before it folded, I used to go and play as like Dusseldorf or like, all of these old, like, when was the last one that had this? Let me see. The last one with the Euro teams. Ooh, I don't know. I can't find it off the top of my head, but it was a lot of fun. Of course they're 2007. It looks like, 2000 to 2007 is when most of these teams were in there. But they had like the Amsterdam Admirals and the Cologne Centurions, the Barcelona Dragons, the Rain Fire, Frankfurt Galaxy, London Monarchs. Was only 1 year for the Monarchs. Hamburg Sea Devils, Berlin Thunder. Yeah, it was a lot of fun just kind of like playing with those random teams that, their overalls were not very good, but now the way that they're trying to grow that's how they were trying to grow it originally. Now they're trying to grow it by like, let's put our best teams over there. So they kind of had their own version of MLS over there with the Euro American football teams. I wonder if there was any like hardcore fans of that were like, no, our version's better than the NFL. Like, I wonder if there's anybody out there. So what we're going to talk about today is the playoffs. The playoffs are coming, and we got teams battling it out on Wednesday, and then we have teams battling it out on Sunday. And our plan is to try to go live during the Sunday evening games, the West Coast games, and do a live show. We'll cut up stuff from the pre-show, the halftime show, and the end stuff, and that'll be the episode for Monday. So you'll get live reactions for what we thought of and who made it in and all that kind of stuff. The bracket, you'll get all that kind of stuff on the Sunday live show, which we'll repurpose for the Monday episode. So that way it's not a not like a 3-hour episode that you're listening to and you're just hearing, oh, this person's playing pretty well right now. We'll trim all that stuff out. But join us on our Sunday live show. It'll be on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, something. I don't know. It's on most of our places. So you can definitely go to the YouTube for sure. So what we're going to talk about today is the teams that are vying it out on Wednesday and Sunday. We're not going to focus too much on teams that are no longer involved, is the nice way of putting that. But first, we're going to give congratulations to LAFC, who win the Supporter Shield thanks to Philly losing 4-0 to Charlotte. Was it 4-0? Yes, right? I'm now like blanking, mixing it with the 4-0. Game. But yeah, 4-0. And LAFC won it late against Portland, or else it would have kicked the can down the road until decision day. But Supporter Shield. Yes, I'm bummed as a Union fan, I guess. But what is nice is that something that seemed like it was going to be a blowout 2 months ago, we're like, Supporter Shield's done. LAFC's got it. The fact that it came down to the second to last week and the Union were in the hunt for it is good. Is good because you don't want to see a team just kind of run away with it. You want that bit of intrigue to say, okay, not only is it fun in the playoff lines, but we're having fun at the top of the table too. And we had that for the last few weeks. Unfortunately, as a Union fan, that kind of fell apart. But LAFC, under first-year head coach in MLS, he's coached elsewhere, Steve Cherundolo, winning the Supporter Shield. Thoughts, Logan, on LAFC reclaiming the Supporter Shield? It's like their second years, and it's under a first-time MLS head coach.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Steve. This was a really good season with a team that really just underperformed last season. And Jordan, you and I talked about this. This team had too much talent, too much special ability in their side to just kind of lay flat and not perform as well. But they did really they got a lot of guys to step up. Opoku, who played pretty well this year, coming off a pretty good start. He's only 20, I think, 21. So he's played really well. They go out and get Ilie Sanchez, Maxime Crepeau, which I think was the biggest staple of them all to add into between the post. They have Kellen Acosta, who I think is highly underrated just by everybody that's not an MLS fan. They all just kind of write him off as saying, well, he's no European player. But I think Kellen Acosta, he fits a role there with Steve Cherundolo's bunch. Ryan Hollingshead, again, adding that piece in is really nice. They go out and get Gareth Bale, who, hasn't had the biggest splash here in MLS yet. I think maybe it could in years to come, but it did seem, although I will say it did seem when they added him in, it actually kind of rocked the boat a little bit. I thought they didn't play as well when Gareth came over, but I think that was more of due to the fact they were just trying to figure out how to play with him alongside guys
It's
like
almost
Vela.
like too many cooks in the kitchen.
It is.
At that point where
Yeah.
you're like, how do we fit all these people in here?
Yeah, you've got three very ball dominant people, Arango, along with Vela, and then also Gareth Bale. Having the ball at their feet all the time is really important for them, and I think it's tough to try to figure out how to kind of maneuver that. And Bale, he played sparingly. He only had 2 starts. He played in 12 matches, so it wasn't like a huge deal on how to figure out how to best, I guess, utilize his skill with LAFC. But I mean, to play in 12 games, I think it kind of rocks the ship a little bit when he does get on the pitch. It's not the same LAFC team just because I think the chemistry was just not there. But now it seems as they kind of gear up towards the playoffs, they're kind of hard to hit their stride a little bit here. Beat the Dynamo in Portland, which are pretty good games to win. But long-winded, I mean, I thought they were going to run away with it, like you said. But Jordan, the fact that they didn't, I think it makes them vulnerable in the playoffs as well. I don't think I now don't think there's a team right now that's playing out of their mind soccer to where they're unbeatable. Like I think even the Union have kind of slipped up a little bit here, and we'll get into I guess we can talk about Bedoya, but I mean to have him not completely healthy right now has kind of affected them from what you've said. I think there's just not a team out there that I look at and say, man, this team could just run the table. Because I just don't think that team exists right now. So I guess we'll see. But LAFC, long-winded, congratulations. I think it was well-deserved. But again, I did think it was going to be a little bit less interesting than it turned out to be.
Yeah, I echo most of that. I'm not going to repeat it with just like regurgitating the same stuff. But congrats to LAFC. Philly, the last 2 games on the road without Bedoya. They're hoping he'll play Sunday. And the midfield doesn't look as good without him. There's a reason why they just extended him for another year, right? It's not just because they're loyal to him. It's because he's been an integral cog in this midfield. So we'll see how that goes. They're mostly locked in the top spot. They really have to probably win to be for sure in the top spot. They're 2 points above Montreal, and Montreal has more wins right now. So they can't really tie anyway because it's 2 points. But I guess if Union draw, Montreal win, that would tie their record, and Montreal would take over the top of the East. So there you go. If I have all that stuff right in what I'm looking at here. All right, let's talk about some teams that are also clinched here. We're just going the top 5 of the West are clinched. You got LAFC, Austin, Dallas, LA, Nashville. Now, that doesn't mean they're locked into their positions, but those teams are for sure in the playoffs. The only team locked in, I think, for sure is LAFC and Austin. LA and Dallas can switch. Nashville can switch with them. Yeah. So only team for sure locked in is LAFC and Austin with their positions. In the current 6th and 7th spots are Portland and Minnesota. Minnesota just clinging on there. They're 1 point above RSL, 2 points above Vancouver. The rest of it, Logan, are knocked out. Colorado is officially eliminated. They were the Western champion. You had Seattle, first time ever that they are missing the playoffs in their MLS history. We have Kansas City knocked out, Houston knocked out, and San Jose eliminated. So there are 4 teams battling it out in the West Coast. And guess what? None of those are on Wednesday. The Wednesday teams are the East Coast teams. So four teams can make the leap into the playoffs, or keep their spot in the playoffs, depending on what team they are, on Sunday while we're live streaming. So we'll be keeping our eye on quite a few games then. Let me just see if they play each other too. So RSL and Portland play each other. That's going to be the national TV game. So that's going to be a lot of fun. and Minnesota Vancouver play each other. Logan, it just works out perfectly.
Yeah.
We talked about looking at their schedules like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Where we were looking at some of these schedules and just like, oh my God, they're playing each other. And we get that now. And
on Wednesday and on Sunday.
On Wednesday and on Sunday. But especially since we'll be live during the West Coast Sunday games, we have 2 games. That's the cool thing. We don't have to look at 4 games. We really just have to pay attention to those 2 games and see, all right, what happens during those 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really has. If you look, I mean, just look at the table in the West. There's so many different things that could happen. And depending on, I don't want to I don't want to go individually just because there's so many things that there's people playing other people and I don't have that pulled up in front of me. But I mean, just the fact that Galaxy could sneak up on Dallas and grab that spot. Nashville could flip flop with LA or catch Dallas. Portland could win and end up in the 4th spot somehow. It's insane. It literally is insane. The whole West could be totally different. And Jordan, another interesting thing about the West, I know we said we were going to talk too much about the eliminated teams, but the 1, 2, and 3 seeds from last year's Western Conference playoffs are now all officially eliminated from the playoffs now. So SKC, Colorado, and Seattle all 3 have been eliminated, and those were your top 3 spots in the West last year. So,
wow.
I mean, we're getting a lot of new blood in the Western playoffs. I think we've got some really intriguing matchups too once we get past this crazy decision day, even looking forward to that. So, I mean, I think the West will be a blast. I think the East, I think you've got 2 of the top teams in the league right now, especially with the way that Montreal's been playing. I think you got 2 of the top teams in the East. It's like David and Goliath. I think Philly kind of have that. I think it's theirs to lose just because they would have the home field advantage if those 2 get to each other. But with the West, man, I feel like it's a free-for-all. So I don't know. This should be pretty exciting. Of course, there could be some upsets in the East that could happen and probably will. But, I mean, for the most part, I'm looking at the Eastern Conference, Jordan, and I'd say they're pretty weak once you get from Red Bull down. That I think the top 3 are really the ones that we're going to be looking
agree.
at.
So you mentioned something there that was that I want to point out here. You made a prediction on June 30th. This is what's at stake, guys. This is what's at stake and what we'll be paying attention to on Sunday the 20th. Logan made a prediction on June 30th, right after the extension for Adrian Heath, saying Minnesota is not going to make the postseason. That seemed like an all right thing. And then they went off on this. They went off on this run.
They ended up like 3rd or 4th.
They were 3rd in the West. And then since then, they had not won a game. So I text with Jack. We've had Jack on the show. Yeah. He's on Final Third. He's Minnesota-based with AJ, and they're Minnesota fans. I said, what is going on with Minnesota? His response was, Adrian Heath sucks.
Let's have Jack on the podcast, Jordan, so he can...
I said, what? I said, do you think there's any realistic possibility he gets fired if they miss the playoffs? He said no. He doesn't think so. Oof. He thinks that that they're fine with being mediocre. So we'll see. That was a big get. And for a while, if people go back and listen to our July and August shows when they started going off on a run, I was pretty much laughing at that on here. I'd be like, oh, Logan said they're going to miss it and they're sitting 3rd. And now it's they're 7th place and they can literally miss it. Now they play Vancouver.
Yeah.
So let me just see what Vancouver is 2 points behind them. Yeah. So if Vancouver wins, Minnesota's out.
Yeah.
This game is at Minnesota.
That helps.
What's their home record like?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it's great. Home away. There we go. They're away. You said their home record, sorry?
Yeah.
7 wins, 5 draws, and 4 losses. That is FB rep, so you might want to double check MLS because FB rep tends to be off sometimes. But
Minnesota, they have as 6-10-1.
Oh,
that's away. Sorry. That's away. Sorry. 7-4-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know what? That's pretty darn even.
Yeah,
That is pretty even.
but
That's a toss up. I feel like that's a coin flip at this rate.
But if you look at Vancouver's record on the road, it's atrocious. They've got 10 losses. So I mean, this is one of those games though.
I'm kind of rooting for
too.
your prediction to come true.
Me too. And I don't know. I feel like Vancouver's obviously been the better team over the last 2 months. So,
and I don't mean that as like a bad thing for Minnesota, but I feel like something needs to wake up the ownership. I feel like Adrian Heath, he's the hold on. This is going to be my thoughts for I gotta make this a clip. Hold on. Okay.
I can take
it. I got it almost ready. Hold on, it's right here. Okay. It's right here. But I gotta make this a video. I gotta make this a clip like the Michael Scott thing because this is golden. By the way, this is my thoughts on Adrian Heath.
You can't keep getting away with it. You can't keep getting away with it.
It's accurate. Yeah. And he has been, dude. He's been
new contract. Yes. New contract.
He's a bandit. Like, he stole Orlando City money and just made them about as average as possible. And now he's doing it the same exact thing in Minnesota. He's making it to where, like, I mean, eventually the club turns on him, but it ain't this season, I don't think. I think Jack's right. I think it's going to be a couple of years. Which, I mean, if you're looking at this as a Minnesota fan, I think you got to be going, even if you get this playoff spot come Sunday, I think you still got to be looking at it, right, Jordan? Like, we're going to be stuck with this. Like, he can't get away with it. Like, he just can't keep getting away with it. The fact that he's just he's a team destroyer in this league.
Yeah, I mean, that is that's pretty brutal. I feel sorry for Minnesota fans because, look, none of their sports teams are really great. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of the problem, right? Or their men's sports teams anyway. I think their women's basketball team did well.
Yeah, I think their basketball team's good. Yes.
But yeah, their men's teams are not great. Oh, their soccer team did well too. The women's Aurora, I think they did pretty good. Yeah. So we will. I made it a clip now. I got it on there.
I love
we'll use that many times regarding Adrian Heath. I think
Greg Berhalter, like that's
and Berhalter. Yes. That'll be a World Cup clip for a while, I'm sure.
Oh gosh, so much soccer.
Before we move on, okay. So then you have Portland versus RSL playing each other. RSL is 2 points behind Portland, right? So if RSL wins, RSL will get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if Minnesota draws, Portland might stay in there. I don't think so, actually.
No, Minnesota would win because they got the win tiebreaker.
They don't have the thing out yet, do they? They only have the Wednesday prediction, like the Wednesday scenarios out.
Yeah, but if Portland wins,
Portland just needs to win.
Yeah, Portland wins, they're in. And Jordan, if they win, they could also, depending on what Galaxy and Nashville do,
they can finish top 4.
Right. I'm telling you, the West is a wild time because Nashville. Let's see. Nashville plays LAFC, who've got nothing to play for. Gosh, this could get ugly and hairy. Like this could get. Who does Dallas play then? This is wild to me. So Dallas plays Sporting. So none of these other teams play each other. So like. Oh my gosh.
No, it really worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
It really worked out perfectly for the teams that need to still clinch. Like, This is insane. It's like Nostradamus was the schedule.
It's wild because all the 3 through 5 don't play each other. So we can watch those games and go, whatever happens really impacts what happens with them in the seeding. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a point, Jordan, where I think technically, if Vancouver could be in a playoff spot, Portland could end up losing out. Like, it's gonna get wild.
And if you're LA or you're Dallas,
Yeah.
just win. Just win, and you're in the top 4. Don't really worry about anything else, right?
Mhm.
Like that's my what I would tell them, right? So you have Nashville that's going to go up against LAFC. LAFC just won the Supporter Shield. They may not put everyone out there, so Nashville could win that. We'll see. But for LA Galaxy, they have Houston. Houston's not very good. Dallas has SKC. They're not very good. Go out there and take care of your business, and you finish in the top 4. And we're talking about the Galaxy, who had, again, this is what was so special about the West. The Galaxy were in 8th place a few weeks ago, and they're in 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of business. They've already qualified. So I guess what? My prediction at the beginning of the season that the Galaxy would make it in the playoffs is finally achieved. That's 2 years in a row that I had that prediction, not 2 years in a row that they made it. And now I don't have to make that prediction next year. So
Right.
I'm very happy that they've made it. They've struggled. They cannot score penalties right now. Chicharito's missed a few. Puig missed a few. I know that's not how you actually say his name, but that's how we say. I don't have the pronunciation in front of me, so that's what I'm going with right now. Yeah. Anything else about the West before we go look at the East?
No, other than I mean, you're right. It's like they knew what the schedule needed to be long before the season ever started.
Yeah, and I think when we go live, we're really going to just watch those 2 games and have an eye on the scores for the other ones.
Yeah.
Because the only other things that SKC and LA Galaxies really affect, and Nashville's and LAFC's, I meant LA Galaxy, not LAFC the first time, is seeding.
Right.
So we're going to be mainly focusing on who gets in, who gets left out here. If you had to make a guess, Logan, before we move on to the East, who's missing out on? You got to pick with Minnesota. So what other team is missing out on the playoffs?
So either RSL or Timbers. Well, I guess not, because I guess Vancouver could win, and then Portland and RSL could draw, and Portland would still get in. Yeah, I'm going for chaos. I'm going to say Portland and RSL draw. So that would mean Portland gets in along with Vancouver.
2 Cascadian teams making it in.
Yeah.
Under Logan's predictions.
Yeah, I'm going with that only because I've made fun of it for so long that there's not going to be a Cascadian team in the playoffs. So I'm going for 2 are just going to sneak in.
Okay, so out of those 2, which one makes the final? Because we got to have one make the final.
I'm going Portland. I mean, I besides the last 2 games, they've looked really strong, and I think that it's so hard to play against Portland in the playoffs. I feel like Gio's got just some kind of extra notch he can flip, and I don't know. I just feel like Portland's just going to be hard to beat in the playoffs, and I think it's one because they have so much experience in the playoffs, and to be honest, Jordan, if you're looking at the top the top West teams, like say even if Nashville jumps into that top West, it's not like these teams have a ton of playoff experience with the teams that they have currently. The only one that really does is LAFC, I think, because I mean, I'd say Galaxy would be the other one that has a lot of playoff experience. But if you're looking at Dallas, like this is a lot of younger guys with just a couple sprinkled in veterans. Like I feel like Gio could figure this out to where he makes another sprint towards the playoffs. And I just feel like the bottom of the West is destined for the playoffs again. So yeah, let's go for chaos again. Portland in the NMLS final to try to repeat, except this time win it instead of.
So you know what that means? They're not going to make it in. All right.
You're welcome. Vancouver, you're welcome.
Let's go to the East. The teams that have locked it in is Philly, Montreal, NYCFC, and the Red Bulls. That leaves a little bit more open spots here in the East for Wednesday and Sunday, though. So by Sunday, it could be less teams still in on it. Cincy is in 5th with 46 points. They only have Sunday to play. Now, there are 4 teams, Logan. Again, this is where the schedule makers knew what they were doing, I guess. There are 4 teams that have to play each other this Wednesday, sorry. And
Wild.
they're playing each other this midweek. And these are the 4 teams in the hunt other than Cincinnati. Orlando in 6th, Miami in 7th, Columbus in 8th, Charlotte in 9th. And you know who's playing each other this midweek?
Yeah.
It is Charlotte versus Columbus, Miami versus Orlando on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So here's the scenarios for how they can clinch the playoffs on Wednesday, right? This is from MLSsoccer.com. Miami can clinch if Miami wins. All right. Orlando can clinch if Orlando wins and Columbus lose. And Charlotte can be eliminated if they lose or draw versus the Crew. So that is the current lookout for Wednesday. On Sunday afternoon, though, it doesn't really stop there. While Charlotte and Miami each other, Columbus and Orlando do. So it could come down to that. That one's going to be on FS1 because it is most reasonably going to be a battle for one of those teams to get in, or both. And the one on ESPN2 is the RSL Portland. So at 7 o'clock, Charlotte faces off against Columbus at Bank of America Stadium. They're riding the high of just beating the Union 4-0. Going up against a Columbus team that has really kind of been, I was going to say riding high as well, but they have a loss against Miami. But they have 3 draws and a win in their last 5. They're still clinging on. They're even with points with 6th, 7th position as they sit 8th. And they're only 1 point back of Cincinnati in 5th. Cincinnati is facing DC United, Wooden Spoon clinched team, DC United. So Cincy has a shot here to really lock in their spot on Sunday. I really feel like I'd feel safer if they win. Yeah, because everything else can go wrong. Cincinnati, just win the game, and I think you're in, if I'm looking at everything right here. I guess it matters. You know what, though? Cincinnati, I don't think controls their fate, do they?
No, because
if
they
Orlando
could
and Miami
technically lose twice and be out. Well, yeah,
they only play once. They only play once, though.
Oh, sorry. Right. But
Orlando,
Charlotte played twice.
if Miami wins both of their games, that'd put Miami at 51 points. If Cincy loses their game and Columbus wins both of theirs, that puts Columbus at 51 points. So, yes, I think they can drop down. No, I think they're locked in if they win. Just win.
Yeah, if Cincinnati wins, yes.
Just win, and I think you're okay if I'm
Yeah.
doing all the math right.
No, you're right, because none of the teams could catch them with a win. Like, I don't think. The only ones that could, I guess, would be because Orlando and Miami would kind of knock each other around.
Yeah, because they play each other, and then Orlando plays Columbus. So it's
Yeah.
not like Columbus and Orlando can win both of their games. And Miami and Orlando can't win both of their games. So I think they might even be fine with a draw. But I'm going to go ahead and say, Cincinnati, you're playing against the worst team in MLS. Win the game, locking your playoffs. Pat Noonan, Coach of the Year candidate, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I was going to either
give
say
it Cherundolo, though, because it's his first year and they win.
Yeah, I was going to say either him or Cherundolo, and I think Cherundolo, to be honest, would just get it just based off merit. So, I don't know, but I guess the good thing is that like all these teams are playing each other. Jordan, I'm hoping for chaos though. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm hoping, and I'm an Orlando fan. I'm hoping Orlando and Inter Miami draw, and I'm hoping Columbus loses in Charlotte to Charlotte, because then we would go into decision day with Charlotte at 44 points, the Crew at 45, and the other two at 46, with Cincinnati at 46. I am rooting for chaos, man.
And that's with who losing?
So Crew has to lose to Charlotte in Charlotte, which I think Charlotte has not drawn at home. They've won 10 games at home and lost 6. I think Charlotte is a good home team. They've won 3 in a row. I thought they've looked really good. I think they're clawing and scratching and fighting. The Crew haven't looked as good. They've looked kind of stale over the last 5 games. They did finally grab a win in the last game. I think they very well could lose, so that would be ideal. And then I'm thinking this could actually happen too. I think the games in Miami, Orlando and Miami playing each other, I think it could be a 0-0 draw, 1-1 draw, because both teams just don't seem to know how to finish each other off. So could you imagine? And then that would put Orlando, Cincinnati, and Miami all at 46 points, with Crew at 45 and Charlotte at 44. So let's root for that, Jordan. On Wednesday, let's root for a Crew loss and a Miami and Orlando draw.
All right, I'll root for that. I think that sounds fun. I'm Team Chaos,
Yeah, it's MLS, man. It's got to happen. Like these scheduling gods have seen it. Like I feel like we're living in the future, right? I feel like we know the results. I might just go put a couple million on these games.
Yeah, fastest way to go bankrupt is betting on MLS. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to part with some money,
yeah,
maybe just donate it to me instead.
As long as it's not after dark.
Yeah,
as long as it's not after dark, Jordan, they can bet on MLS.
That's true. MLS after dark is a whole nother thing. Oh boy, none of these games midweek are on TV, right? Are they all ESPN Plus? But remember, everyone, this is the last. Yeah, they're on MLS Plus. Yeah. ESPN Plus. Sorry, this is the last few games on your local TV stations and ESPN Plus. They're moving to Apple next year. I'm hoping that means the decision day is not on NFL Sunday, but kind of strange. I know they liked, it seems like for decision day, they always liked having Sundays, but I think that's because the networks set those. I think the network sets that because the network like having games on Sundays, and before NFL football to like have something on Sundays, but then also during NFL football to have counter programming for people that don't like football, and it kind of hurts it overall. So the bad thing is that all the playoff games will probably be on Apple next year, right? But there are supposed to be some sort of linear games, but I just wonder like what that looks like for the playoffs.
Right.
Because the linear games are going to be the only games I think that are not on the Wednesday and the Saturdays. So you probably will have a few games on Sunday next year, especially in the spring before NFL football. But I'm hoping no big playoff games on Sunday. Just like let's keep our days, right? Let's just keep the days of Wednesday and Saturday and make sure people know when to tune in.
Mm-hmm.
Like baseball, people know to tune in daily. Football,
right.
Everybody knows to watch Sunday. Like, let's just claim our days of Saturday and Wednesdays. Because
right.
even then, like NFL's not on any of those days, right? NFL's
right.
Monday, Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And we would have Wednesday and Saturdays. I think that's just the best way.
Yeah. And Saturday nights, you're only competing with college football prime time, and that's not like. I think college football has really kind of lost its allure, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. I do think football's starting to lose some steam, but not nothing crazy. But I do think it hurts the college game more than it will ever hurt the NFL. Like I think football having these issues really, it'll start to eliminate colleges wanting to spend money on kids getting CTE and all sorts of different things, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, well, where it's going to happen is, right, people are going to watch the hit on Tua, and they're going to say, my kid's not playing football. And what they're going to do is they're going to put their kid in soccer.
Yeah.
and because it's relatively low cost compared to baseball and basketball.
Correct.
And those kids will grow up with soccer, and what you're looking at is not right away, but you're looking at generations down from now where the NFL could see some loss of popularity because people didn't grow up with it, and because less people are playing it, there's going to be less pros from it. Like there's going to be a time where that is going to be a reckoning. It may not even be in our lifetime. Like I already know my kid's not playing football. I'm sorry, he's not.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the way the coaches, like, have you seen TikToks where coaches are like showing these like 5-year-olds just like headbutt each other, knock each other out, and they get down? I'm like, no, I'm not putting my faith in a coach who wants to be coaching some sort of all-star, peewee football thing. So my kids are playing soccer and baseball. If they continue to like playing those, they will continue. If they don't like it, they're not. I'm not going to force them. But those are the ones I'm going to start them out in, and we'll see where it goes from there. So that'll be a little off topic there, but that'll be something that will help this. And I think if they keep the dates that they play on, more people will tune in knowing, oh, it's that they, like, how many people just know Thursday, like, oh, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Let me put that on. Oh, Monday Night Football. Let me put that on. Oh, it's even the worst teams to ever grace Monday Night Football, and their score is 3-6. I'm still going to watch it. Because the first few like national primetime games were awful this year. But people still tuned in because it's ingrained. So we got to start getting this ingrained,
And we'll own Wednesdays. Like Wednesdays are ours. I think what else helps it is usually when soccer's on in Europe before, and Champions League is usually Wednesday or midweek Premier League. So it'll help because people are like, oh, Premier League, and then my team's playing at 6 for MLS. So I don't have 2:45 to 5 o'clock ish for my Prem team or my European team. Then bam, an hour after, I got dinner, and then bam, my Red Bulls are playing. So
and Saturdays will be good too for like people to get to the stadium.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
You know how much I hate when it's a Sunday game or a midweek game, because my closest teams, as we've said a million times on here, are an hour and a half away. If it's a Sunday and it's a 5 or 7 o'clock game on Sunday, I have to leave probably around 2 to make sure I get there. Then I have to park, get in there for a 5 o'clock game. The game ends around 7. I have to drive an hour and a half back. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time I get back home. And then I have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Saturday, it's like, okay, I can sleep in Sunday. Like, this is great, So I'm hoping that I'll be able to kind of get to more games this way too.
Saturdays are easier. Yeah, you're right.
So much easier.
That's what sucks about NFL. I'm close enough to my NFL team that I could go watch them, but I know getting back it's gonna be like 7 to 9 o'clock. Traffic,
parking lot traffic is nuts.
Yep, I get home right around 8 or 9 o'clock, and that's just not fun to get back and have to go right to bed. So, yeah.
So hopefully that'll help with the league and stuff. Montreal, by the way, has not lost in their last 5. I want to bring up this as well, Logan, because did I mention this earlier? You had another prediction. I have this written down from September 13th. Do you know what it was?
Something about Montreal.
No, it's actually about the Union. They won't lose again this season. Well, they just did this week. That was the first time since you had said that they had lost.
And to Charlotte, nonetheless. Yikes.
Yeah. 2 away games is a tough thing to do back to back. But yeah. So that's one that got wrong. It looks like on the 13th, you said Vancouver, SKC, and San Jose would all be eliminated from the postseason, which so far is not the case. Vancouver's still in it. The other 2 are, of course, out of it. So interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Man, I should put some money on this.
East?
What?
Anything you want to say about the East? Before we talk about some news?
I'm just looking. Honestly, right now, Jordan, I'm looking at Montreal as being you got to take down Montreal. I never thought I'd be saying that, but the Union have somebody to worry about in the East right now, and it's not New York either. New York. And I don't think they'll ever have to worry about anything in the bottom because I just don't think those teams defend very well. Nor do those play on the team. Those three teams are probably one of the three of the worst road teams. So but I like that Montreal's challenging. I will root hard for the Union for you. But again, the good thing about covering the league is while I'm very loyal to Orlando, I just love this league a lot. So I just like seeing good matchups, and there's not like a team I despise. So I'm really looking forward to this. Whatever Montreal's got left in the bag, because I do think, I don't want to say it, but in case Montreal wants to jump up into the one spot, that could be kind of fun. So not for you, maybe, but I think for Montreal fans, you got to be looking at that as something that would be enticing to chase after if the Union do drop some points, which it's really hard for the Union to drop points, but
and they'll be home, so it'll be a little tougher for that, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Montreal is going to be tough. Here's the teams I'm worried about if I'm watching the East. Okay, if you're an East Coast team and you're not East Coast but Eastern Conference team, and you're looking at making the playoffs, there's a few teams I'm worried about facing. I'm worried about facing the Union with 5 losses on this season. I'm worried about Montreal. They only have 9 losses, Logan, and 5 draws. All right, 19 wins, Montreal. So I'm worried about them. I'm worried about Cincinnati with only 9 losses. They went a long time without a loss. They just lost this weekend. It was the first time, like you mentioned, that they hadn't lost since July or something.
Yeah.
And if the Crew get in, they only have 7 losses. Now, they don't have as many wins. They have a lot more draws. But I'm worried about those because every other team has double-digit losses that I think we can go in and win there. We can win those games. Those 4 teams with single-digit losses, I'm like, I don't know. It's tough to beat that team. And
that's true.
And that's going to be some problems.
Yeah. I didn't think of that because then you do get into shootouts if you have to after extra time. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a really good point. And I would say, honestly, I think Orlando and Miami are very weak playoff teams. So,
13 losses.
Yeah, they're just not. They both have not been good. It's just the fact that the other teams behind them have not pushed them very much. So,
and here's the West Coast teams, Western Conference teams I'm worried about if I'm in. There's only 3 single-digit loss teams over there, and that's LAFC with 8, FC Dallas with 9, and Portland Timbers with 9. Austin has 10. I would actually probably still be worried about facing Austin, right? But for sure, if I'm looking at just single-digit loss teams, it's just those 3, and it's like, don't want to be in a position where we have to go to penalties. We saw that with Nashville and the Union where they went to penalties. It was kind of a scary moment as a Union fan, right? Where you're like, oh man, we have to face Nashville in penalties. Union pulled it out, made it to the next round with NYCFC, but you're like, let's not, right? Like let's just win the game, and that is the scary thing for those. Now, of course, like I said, the Crew don't have as many wins, but again, if you get pushed to a draw, you have to go up against Zella Ryan and Chucho Hernandez and penalty kicks. You're thinking that's 2 for sure penalties. So that's worrying. I don't know. Just something I'm looking at as the stats. Just thought of right now, like, oh, I don't want to face those teams at all. I would take Inter. I would take City, and I would take Red Bull and NYCFC. Like those, they have 11 and 13 losses. Union usually beat those teams. I would feel pretty okay with those teams.
Yeah, and I think another thing we don't mention as much, one, because you're a Union fan, but I really do think, like, after they got through that scare at Nashville last year, because it just reminded me that this Union team, I think, without the COVID stuff, this Union team, I think, would have won MLS Cup. I really do. I was in that belief that, like, this MLS Cup is the Union's to lose. And I think, again, this year, you know, they've kind of had a little bit of a patchy end to their season. But I think if you get Bedoya back, this is one of those teams, Jordan, that they can defend. And that's not what a lot of the MLS teams are built around. They're not built around being able to stifle you in the defense. And the Union have the ability to just kind of stop you in your tracks when you think all is going well. To give up only 26 goals, Jordan, in MLS in this league that is known for trying to shoot out. Gosh, I mean, it's just they're historic. Their goal differential is astronomical. They have the best keeper in MLS right now. Again, Jim Curtin, who's the best coach in MLS and maybe who might be the best U.S. men's coach ever coach in the history of coaches. Do you say that, Jordan? Bruce Arena's good. I give him that.
He's done it for like 30 years.
But Jim Curtin's got 30 more years, so we'll see. I think Jim Curtin ends up, Jordan, mark it down. We'll check it back in like 25 years or so. But October 3rd, Logan says.
Am I writing this down for real? Yeah. We got Jesse Marsh
That's fine. Jesse sucks.
Over at Leeds, and we're going to go ahead and say
Jim Curtin, best U.S. coach to ever grace this planet, Earth, as they call it. So I'm calling it right now because Jesse's teams didn't do this. Bruce's teams don't do this. Bruce's team had a good year last year. Bruce's team sucks this year. Like I've never been. I get it. Bruce has won in multiple different ways in multiple different areas. But Jim Curtin,
in multiple eras.
Yes,
that's for me is a huge thing. Bruce has adapted. He's been a U.S. coach that took a team on the brink of the semifinal. If it wasn't for a German handball or a handball, we should have got called on that handball, Germany. But anyway, I wrote it down. I had to write down what year too because this thing's gonna be sitting there forever.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Like, how do we even judge that? Like, what is?
I think when Jim Curtin wins us the 2026 World Cup as the U.S. men's national team, riding on Erling Haaland's back because he is from Trenton, New Jersey. Is that where Trenton is? We are going to remember this day very vividly, Jordan, of Zach Steffen.
We're gonna forge that birth certificate. So,
right. Hold on. Let me show you something, Jordan, because I've been sitting on this a little bit, just because I think it's very apropos of like just kind of what we've been talking about here. Hold on. Let me see if I can do your magic here. I'll go here and I want to share now. This is confirmed. This is actually coming to us from a reputable source on Twitter. And Jordan, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is 100%. So. This is 100% accurate. Okay, don't even argue. But can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 100% accurate. This is actually Haaland's birth certificate. Mm-hmm. And you can actually tell, ignore the Chuck E. Cheese money. So Haaland is coming to the U.S., which is a good move. I think. I think that's a decent switch over from Norway to the U.S. men's national team.
This is everybody after listening to another dry delivery by Logan, thinking he's genius.
You can't keep getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it.
He won't. He won't.
Yeah, they were like, man, this is mind blowing. He's American, and then they're gonna watch the video and be like, "Oh, it was a joke."
Gosh, there's gonna be so many out of context, and they're gonna be like, these stunt predictions are starting to kind of borderline like Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless. Like this guy's got hot takes for you. Hey, Jordan, but don't knock it, right? Minnesota missing the playoffs. Vancouver. Who else did I say? SKC.
That's still up in the air.
Seattle.
Both of those are still up in the air.
Right. I didn't. You can ignore the Cascadia part. I lied. But everything is happening like I said it would. Right. It's just a matter of time, baby.
Look, there's one way to disprove that right now. Right here's Logan's MLS Cup pick. All right, Seattle Sounders. Who is the supporter shield pick? The Union. All right. His manager of the year was Jim Curtin, which is close. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
His golden boot was Arango, right?
Yeah, not close.
Close.
Close enough.
His Western predictions speak for themselves.
Okay,
right?
Jordan.
And so does his East.
Where did you pull these false articles and artifacts from? Those are not my photos. I do not consent to this bullying. But yeah, no, I think Jim Curtin, this Union team, to kind of full circle, right? This Union team just has that roster you would want going into MLS, especially. I mean, you got a very talented, I think, on paper roster where you think that LAFC should just run away with this. I'd argue even Austin have a better offensive threat than the Union have, but it's just like the way that this is constructed, like the way that they defend, the way that Curtin coaches, the adjustments he can make, and the fact that they're going to have to play Philadelphia in Philadelphia, I think, because I don't think LAFC win it because we've had a history of them not winning Supporter Shield and MLS Cup. So I don't think LAFC is going to win it. So that ultimately would leave the Union in the driver's seat come MLS final. So yeah, I'm sticking to it, and it might ruin my prediction show when we predict the MLS Cup final stuff. But this Union team is just, I really do. I think they're the best team. If Bedoya is healthy, this is the team.
Well, if that happens, here's my MLS Cup pick.
And you would be absolutely 100%. You sure that's not my picture? I remember.
I'm sure it says
that.
Jordan MLS Cup. But
no. Wrong
don't
name.
pay attention to my Supporter Shield pick.
Right.
But when you look at the, I'm actually down on this pick now. I am very worried if Bedoya is not going to be healthy that this could all go wrong. Our MVP pick is looking pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hani Mukhtar is gonna win it. And they put out this like little cool thing because Nashville is music, right? Like they did like a vinyl album cover for like.
Oh,
MVP,
I saw that. Yeah.
And it had like tracks, and like the tracks were the games, right? And really cool. Before we get out of here, Gonzalo Higuain is announcing his retirement. So at the end of the season, he'll be gone. So if they make a playoff push, he'll play in the playoffs. If they end up crashing out, then that's the end of Higuain. Joseph Martinez and Pineda sounds like are having a little bit of a tiff. We talked about before, but he's supposed to meet with his with the brass at Atlanta and figure out what's going on next year. So I think Logan's pretty clear that he thinks Joseph is gone at the end of this season. I think that they might work something out, but we'll see on how that goes. Drew Moore from the Rapids has announced his retirement. So since they are not making the playoffs, his last game will be Sunday. He's played for quite a while. All right, let's get to our match of the week previews. We talked a little bit about matches of the week, but we'll pick for sure which one is the one to watch.
It's time for the match of the week preview.
All right, so there's two important West Coast ones. Are we focusing on that, or are you going to pick an East one here?
I'm going to go West just because the East is still uncertain to me. So I'm going to stick to West.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What game on the West is the match of the week for Logan Stone?
Oh yeah, throwing in my last name there. So I'm looking at this, right? I almost wanted to pick Portland and RSL, but I'm going to switch it over and go Minnesota and Vancouver, just because I think as the season, what happened?
Because of your prediction.
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's exactly what it is. But I'm gonna spin it as into a different direction as well. I just think that Vancouver's played extremely well. They played really well the last three matches out. They beat some really good teams, Jordan. We didn't really kind of list this off, but over the last three games, if you're looking at Vancouver's wins, it's been against the Galaxy 3-0. It's been over Seattle 2-1, and then 2-0 over Austin. So, I mean, they beat some really good teams. Maybe Seattle's not a great team, but I think they did. They've done what they needed to do to kind of make this push towards the playoffs. I think they're deserving of the playoff spot. They had a really tough go to start the season. Jordan, you and I talked about like, man, this is a really bad team. They were hovering down there towards that bottom of the West, and now here they are come decision day, ready to kind of make that push towards the playoffs. And again, I'm rooting for chaos. And, right now they look like the odd man out. But I hope with a victory here, they can increase those odds of getting in. And I think then it just becomes a watch and see what Portland does, see what RSL does, because Vancouver could very well sneak in here with probably the lowest odds that the team's had in a while. So, yeah, it's all worked out. The schedule makers have made it happen, but I'm going that Vancouver game. Plus, in Minnesota, I kind of need them to lose. So,
I will pick a Eastern Wednesday game for match of the week. How about that? I'll go Miami Orlando. I think it's a rivalry match with Florida teams, and we have both of them up in 6th and 7th place here for the playoffs. Higuain, in his last 2 games here, he is scoring more than he ever has because he's kind of, I guess, bought into what's going on. I don't know. He's I don't know what's going on, why he's taking it seriously now, but he is, and he's scoring goals. And he's got 14 of those goals compared to Erkan Kara is the lead goal scorer for Orlando with 10. The game is in Miami, so that's good for Orlando because they don't play well at home. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm picking that one because fun rivalry match. It sets the stage for Sunday. But I can't pick a Sunday East Conference game because I'm worried that these Wednesday games might shake stuff up for that. And then, then I wasn't just going to pick the other West Coast game that you picked. So
right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else before we head out of here? Did we cover everything?
No, Jordan, I do have one more thing to say. I think this podcast has been going great, right? There's been a couple issues, though, that I've kind of had just with your abilities at time, not showing up on time. You really just, Jordan, you just don't fit the system here. Like, I feel like you really don't fit the system. I just think that
on my other podcast, I'm scoring tons of views and listens, but when I come here, for whatever reason, I don't fit it. I don't get it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the best podcasters in the land, probably one of the best hosts, probably have the most shows ever hosted, at least.
It feels that way.
Yeah, but again, when you come here, it's just like the system, man. It's not you, it's me, but it's the system, really.
So who are you calling in instead?
I don't know who. I guess I got to find a host. So if anybody is out there and would like to put in their name for the new host because Jordan just doesn't fit the system, maybe you're a system guy or gal, guy or gal. Then throw your name in the hat, and I'm sure we can.
And actually, don't do that because
please don't. He's not actually leaving.
Going anywhere.
Yeah, no. We love Jordan. I just thought I'd make a fun Greg Berhalter joke before we got out of here. But if you want to talk about Greg Berhalter jokes, Jordan, I guess when he's talking about all of his lovely things that he's talking about with his system, one thing comes down to it, and we all know.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
I think a lot of people
It's over. We are screwed.
A lot of people feel that way for the World Cup. But guess what? Our World Cup coverage starts this month soon, as we're going to start previewing 2 groups a week as we build up for the World Cup. So we'll be juggling that with the playoffs. But really excited. The bad thing with the way it's structured is we won't know the final 26 squads before we record these, because I think the deadline for that is like only a week before.
It's a week out, yeah.
So obviously we won't be able to do that, but we'll kind of go off what people have recently been, or we'll especially for the U.S. in that group, we'll really dive into if we think certain people are making the squad or not. That'll probably be our longest preview, Group B, I would think.
Yeah,
we're
just
very
some blue
familiar
sky.
We're very familiar with English players, and we're very familiar with Americans.
Right.
So I think we'll be that one will probably be long.
Yeah, and I think blue sky in it here, Jordan. Jordan and I haven't even talked about this conversation here, but Jordan, what we could, I think, maybe do is go off of what we think is going to be. Here's what the projected roster might be. Here are some really interesting storylines to look out for each of these teams, because they all have great stories. Maybe we could even find some people that could come on from different places that could do it. I'm not promising anything because that's always more difficult, but
especially time zones.
Yeah, but I do think we could be like top 3 players. Here's what the defense usually looks like for them, and then once we get like a week out, we could sit down and do our prediction show just like we normally would, but then finalize these kind of like, hey, here's the finalized roster. Here's Group A's show. Here's or whatever we might.
Oh, I meant to ask you. You got your Panini stickers, Logan.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts here? First Panini stickers ever.
Man, I was really impressed with my draw. I got 2 of my Man City guys. I got Julian Alvarez and Kevin De Bruyne. I did get a couple Americans, which is crazy. Got Ricardo Pepi, and then Matt Turner, I think, comes with everybody's book. So that was cool. I'm learning a lot of things, and Jordan, I've never actually looked through a Panini book. I really like the setup. Like, it allows me to learn things about the teams. It gives me like backgrounds and histories on different things. It gives me like the groups. It gives me a chance to fill out like a scorecard at the bottom.
Yeah, that's the best part for me. I love doing that. I love tracking it while I'm sitting there. It's a nerdy thing.
But this is a lot more extensive than I thought it was. Like, this Panini book, I haven't even looked through it like in too much detail yet, just because there's so much. I was like, man, there's a lot. So I don't know. I was really cool, and getting like the little team stickers too with the gold plates and stuff. I'm having a blast doing it. So I could see why this would be very addicting.
Yes. Yeah. So what I've been doing is pretty much anytime I'm in Target, I grab like 5 packs.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's like $5, and I just come home and open them and put them in.
Yeah.
I still own Steph, so I am very frustrated. I got Pulisic in the digital version, so if you look on the back of the logo ones, the gold logos, they have codes.
Yeah.
And you put them in an app on FIFA.com or PaniniSticker.com, and you open up digital packs. And I got in one of those, but I'm like, come on! And how many times can I buy packs and not get an American? Like, it's starting to get ridiculous.
Right. My first pack had Ricardo Pepi in it.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's crazy.
It was the very first pack. I meant to send you that picture too and say, hey, he was literally, I got the box of 5 and he was literally in the first pack. Like second card in was Ricardo.
Did you get any of the color borders? Because that's new this year.
Yeah, I got a couple blue borders.
So here's how I thought I'm going to do that. If I get an original, I'm going to still put it in the sticker. And then I think if I get a blue or anything higher, I'm going to put it over top of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
I think so too. Yeah. Like, because I already stuck the blue ones in.
Yeah. So if you get anything better than a blue, just cover that. If you have a normal, just put it to the side.
Plus, it'd make my Panini book look good too. Like, just thicker. So, yeah. I need to go get some more.
Me too. I'm talking about it now. I'm like,
I know. I'm ready to go.
Maybe tomorrow on the way home from work.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for watching or listening. Sorry for all of the sound bites we're playing, but they're fun. On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email us, Stateside Show, all of that. Stateside Show at Gmail is the email, and then every place we're at Stateside Show. So we're getting close to World Cup. We're getting close to MLS playoffs. This is going to be the best time that we're going to have here, I think. So I hope everyone's enjoying it, and we will catch you all on the live stream on Sunday. And then we'll, like I said, repurpose that for an episode on Monday. We're not going to re-record on Monday, but we'll still, after the games, talk about who made it. Any sort of bracket that's out there. We'll talk about who's facing who. And then we'll probably we'll have to look and see when the playoffs start then and kind of figure out when we're, how we're going to structure that. But yeah, so you'll start seeing some World Cup stuff and some playoff stuff, and that's it. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time.